Okay. We're on to our 11 o'clock meeting, and I see Public Works.
Sorry. Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Moss, Public Services Director. We have a few items from maintenance, building and planning, and then Public Works, one item there. And then I believe we have some executive sessions to follow immediately after these items today.
Okay.
So unfortunately,
I do want to note that our facilities maintenance guy is dressed appropriately for this morning's cool temperature.
yeah,
You just didn't share the message with the rest of us.
I see you have your blinds open to try to get some heat into the room.
You notice the head of facilities is well jacketed. He knows something we don't. I got short sleeves.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and let Will talk about the first item then.
The first one on the agenda.
Yeah.
Good morning, Commissioners. Will Tosted, Facility Services Manager. Facilities is losing an employee, a great employee. He was a great pickup. So we'll miss him, but I told him, you know, he's always welcome back in our department, but he's got an opportunity that he can't pass down. So so that's the first.
So I don't know if Jessica brought up during her items or not, but we're here to make the request to fill his position. Aaron's been with us for a couple of years. Oh, 9 months. I thought he was forever. He knew everything. So going back to his old job, they offered him more money in a county vehicle or a company vehicle. So, and quite a bit more money that the county's not able to compete. So unfortunately, we lose him back to his old boss. So big loss for us.
And then, oh, did you have a comment?
I was just going to say, it's probably unworkable in the public sector, but I'm sure in the private sector, you've seen the difference between any two employees can be a factor of 3 in accomplishment.
Yeah.
Or actually, there've been documented factors of 20, but nevertheless, so I don't know if there's any mechanism to keep good people who actually not only know their stuff, but are so productive that you're going to have to replace them with 2 other people.
Yeah.
You know, working for the government, you try to create a great working environment for them. They know there's great retirement, decent benefits, but usually the pay is lower than the private sector. We know that going into it, and we recruit, we make sure we recruit, we have the salary range on there so they're not surprised, of course, when they sign up and want to come work for us. But unfortunately, they always decide, you know, a few employees, they'll decide, hey, I can make that work. But after 6 months or a year, they go, gosh, and then their own employer goes how much they lost by losing him or her. And they go, wait, we'll offer you more money because our productivity is down so far by you not working for us. So and it's challenging for us because we don't offer more money back. So it's not even a competition. It's not even a bidding war at that point there. We just say thanks and you're always welcome back to join us.
Yeah, this probably applies much more to the younger person because the current cash flow is much more important. And in 35 years, I'm going to have good retirement.
Yeah, they don't look that far out.
Yeah.
And they probably can't.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And I believe in building and planning's update, they're going to talk about exactly the same subject. We have a staffing update there from Tracy Jackson about us losing somebody to, I believe, for more money. So 3 lines to replace.
Oh,
I think we already did.
We did that earlier with
Oh, you did.
Jessica.
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know she did.
Okay, moving on to the second item, starting June 1st, everyone knows when we put in a work order, we use our old facility dude system. We had approval to move forward on that, so we've been training. The new system is called Asset Essentials, and we will be starting that June 1st. There'll be a little bit of lag time where we take, try to finish the old work orders that are in the system. The old work orders don't move to the new system, so there'll be kind of this lay period where, we try to wrap up what's existing in the old system that we can, while new work orders are entered into the new system, so.
So I'm curious about the terminology. Dude relaunch, is that according to the county's latest equity and diversity programs?
Yes, so it was called Facility Dude, which has been taken over by Brightly. But the old system is still called Facility Dude. The old platform was Maintenance Edge, and we're switching to Asset Essentials. It'll allow us a lot more training capabilities, as I've talked about in previous meetings, and reporting. The reporting's the biggest asset in that. We can report by building, by asset, and put some hourly costs for labor to that as well.
Does this have a tie-in to Laserfish?
No.
I'm wondering because we've got a lot of drawings that I regret we don't seem to keep for very long. How are you keeping, like when we replace the roof on the Hall of Justice? There are all kinds of engineering drawings.
Yeah, so we have our record drawings, which we store on the server. One capability that the maintenance guys were excited about in the new Asset Essentials is exactly what you brought, drawings. When they do a work order, it has mobile capabilities, so they can take a picture of the work order that they're completing, say, this was the tricky bolt, or, this is the thermostat, and you can illustrate on it as well. And, that should help productivity as well moving forward. Having some visual evidence of who's been there, what they did, and some illustrations. No.
Yeah, we paid a lot to architects, and presumably we get a product out of that we want to keep around forever. And that's on this Asset Essentials also, or how do you keep it?
Drawings from like.
The record drawings are just on the server.
Okay, thank you.
Probably need to repeat that for the audience.
The drawings are.
The drawings are on Laserfish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and that's all I have for an update. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so let me hammer on that just a little bit more. I found that it's very difficult to get history, so it sounds like you folks are making every effort to record everything. We've been told any number of times people didn't have the proper manuals and this and that. And in the internet world, I think almost everything is there. Just trying to find it may be really hard. And then I really like to know, this is probably not fair, but we contract out, and I'd really like to know the history. So I should be able to come to you and say, okay, you're going to use vendor X. How many contracts have we had with vendor X, and how have they worked out? And there are all kinds of numbers like, vendor X was always the low individual, but then after all the change orders, it turned out he was high. That kind of stuff is really helpful.
Yeah, we're certainly able to track that. In the public works, we always know when the bid, usually you have the same 4 or 5, 6 local contractors bidding on some of our road projects. So you have an idea. And even on the maintenance side, we know usually HVAC, that same 2 or 3 companies come in, and a lot of times they're in the same order as past years. This HVAC unit company is always the highest bidder. But we be able to track it closer now, look at the change orders to see exactly what the end result was compared to what the
Yeah.
initial bid was. And I know we track that in Public Works on the roadside, so we'll work with Will to make sure we have all the information for the maintenance side. Because yeah, change orders can, as you all know, eat you up pretty quickly. So
Yeah,
we expect about up to 10% in change orders on certain road jobs because of unseen site issues. But certain times we come under budget, sometimes you're over. But for the most part, and you guys are aware of those, we certainly bring them forward. Susan brings them forward to you when we have site conditions that change. So
Yeah, they're very reasonable reasons for some change orders. And when you're only working with the 50% drawing or something like
Yes.
that, then but we recently saw somebody who I'm pretty sure tried to had to buy the contract by a low bid intentional, and then came back and said, oh, by the way, you need a change order. And we said no.
Yeah.
And so I would advise them that we are not going to just rubber stamp change orders.
correct.
Mike, I do have a question. It doesn't really deal with facilities maintenance, but more the example that you mentioned when there's unforeseen conditions under the ground that we don't know about. I've been attending some of the daily briefings for the Coldwater landslide, and they're using LiDAR to map out what's under the ground. I'm assuming that's a fairly expensive piece of technology, but is that something that is eventually going to be adaptable for our road?
I'm going to pass that on to Patrick Harbison. Sorry.
That's a very good question, Patrick Harbison, Public Works. I didn't realize LiDAR went underground, so as that process continues, I'm pretty sure Susan will be very interested because that could be an asset that we utilize in the future if it's cost effective. I don't know what cost effective it is. I know that flying LiDAR just to get topography is a fairly expensive way to do it, but it is starting to become more and more cost effective.
I learned through the Spirit Lake Collaborative that WDFW has LiDAR equipment that is available. You have to make arrangements to use it. So if it's a matter of, do we have enough use to buy very expensive technology? No, but you know, if we have other agencies that we can borrow to use, I don't know.
I believe we will be asking to go forward with an RFQ to do some drone flies, and LiDAR is in that RFQ as an opportunity for us as well. Yeah, we're trying to catch back up.
Sure.
So question on that, I'm unfamiliar with LiDAR other than its name. So they're using RF of various frequencies to penetrate down. How far down do they go?
I didn't realize it went underground, so I'd have to research that. But from a topographic point of view, it does use frequencies to give us contours and stuff like that, so we can
Okay.
dictate. And they can get pretty precise. I've heard of 2-inch resolutions on it.
Yeah, that part on the surface, I believe. Typically what you have to do is do little small explosions and then take a look at the propagation, and that'll tell you the layering and what kind of materials you have.
And I believe that's where the real cost is sending it to someone who can process it and create a surface out of it, but I'm not 100% on that.
Okay.
interesting. Yeah. Thank you.
Morning, Commissioners. Tracy Jackson, Building and Planning. I wanted to reiterate what Mike was saying and Will were saying about retention of employees. 2 of our last employees have left for different jurisdictions, one's a city and one's a county, to our neighbors for more money. And So it's just tough to keep the retention of employees, so. Today I had promised that the board, one of my outgoing individuals, one of the ones that took a neighboring county, he was gonna come do a presentation on the compliance nuisance abatement officer.
Oh, yeah.
His wife had a baby on Thursday, and so she had cesarean, so I know go figure. He's at home with the other kids, so, I can tell you, I still am requesting the position. We have we're kind of moving some deck chairs around in the office and pulling on people's strengths. I don't know that that's been done before we just placed an individual in a position, and I'm trying to find the right employee for the right position. I don't know that we're going to ask for any of the other senior planner positions to be filled. So I'm trying to, like I said, capitalize on what we currently have. But I would like to request, and I still have this on the table, to refill the nuisance abatement officer position. I did pull some of his stats with Lorraine from Public Works. To date, he's closed 86 folders. 6 of them have been escalated for a fire life safety hazard that he's still working with our current staff and building official and planning manager on. 7 of them require additional follow-up. 43 of them, he did an initial site visit and or reached out and with neighboring properties to get on the property or around the property. And there's 14 in a waiting period, whether he's reached out to them, he has something pending, we're either waiting for a response or he's given them a certain amount of time for compliance. So it is it's a huge benefit for our community. It makes or breaks the position with the right individual in this one. This one is very much the shoulder to cry on, the hand to hold along the way, and it's just a process follow-up once that we can get them in the door and do the right thing. It's a case management piece. It's something that the board we try to bypass and not get the complaints to go to the board. We try to handle them in-house. And it's a good position to walk the individual through the process. They can explain, a well-rounded person would have good planning and or building background, hopefully. So we can get them, we're not starting them off. It would be nice to have a little bit of background with that. So we're not looking for the police officer. We're not looking for the ticket. We're not issuing tickets by no means. We're just trying to get into the compliance field and get them to do the right thing. So we've worked with GIS and our GIS folks to, we have an online system that they can basically turn their neighbor in or request for investigation on anybody. They can remain anonymous. They don't have to give us their names. Once that happens, then it kind of starts the site visit or the reach out of really what's happening on that piece of property. But it's a way for us to track. And so I call it the nosy neighbor can find out what their neighbors are doing based on permits. So we're trying to tie all of this into where they can actually see what's going on. And we are hoping to reduce some phone calls by mapping this out too. So we're trying different strategies to help the community. So I know it is a general fund position. The board requested it a while ago. It landed in our department, which we are more than glad to have it in our department. I think it's a huge benefit to have it in ours. But I'm just still requesting that we go ahead and fill it. It's union, so it would have to be posted 5 days to the union. Hopefully we would get a signer, and if not, it would go to the public. That's still my request.
Yeah. I think that position, the right person in there takes a lot of focus off of other employees so they can do their job. So if you want to fill that and we find the right person, I think I'm okay with it.
Yep. Thank you. I'll work with HR and we'll get it posted. Thank you so much.
I am curious about one thing. There's apparently a website that I can go in and complain about my neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
How much of that turns out to be just, Mike knows what I'm asking.
So a lot of those are more civil disputes between the neighbor, their neighbor built a fence, they don't like it, they cut down my tree limb, I don't like it. It's being more of the moderator between the two parties at that point. The request for investigation is just the form we have online. We tried to streamline things, so we didn't.
No, I
have them
understand
come
that.
in.
I
Yeah.
understand all that. The one I can see is a lot of, some people would be inclined to say, I don't like the way my neighbor parks his car. I wonder if he has a permit for the shed. out
We all
back."
have those neighbors, yes.
And so, I wish it weren't quite so one-sided. They can actually, if they wish, they could file so many reports as to make the job or the function unusable.
Yep.
And anyhow, so I'm just curious, do we get a lot of activity out of that?
No, we get a lot of, several complaints are about just civil matters that, we can't. It's
Right.
between them and the neighbor. A lot of them are within city of Longview or city of Kelso or environmental health, because they do more of the Hulk vehicles and the solid waste complaints. We only help assist with those, but ours are more like fire life safety type
By,
structures.
by help assist, I mean, you put them in touch with the proper
Correct.
agents. Okay.
And then we usually, if they upload photos or information, we send all that to the correct jurisdiction. Yep. From different entities. Oh, it's very minimal. Very, very minimal. Yeah. A handful of them, maybe a half dozen, I would say. There's not a lot of those.
Yeah, I agree with the chairman. The correct individual will solve a lot of problems.
It
and-
makes or breaks that
and they're
position.
very hard to find, I think.
I agree.
They can know everything and still not be able to do the job.
It's that people outreach piece. That's such a viable part of this position.
Yeah.
And the way they work with or other members of the public, it's huge. They are the face of the county, really. They're the first, contact that they get.
So a question I have then, the guy who is leaving, is he leaving because you're mean
Yes,
or is it money?
I am mean. No, he's going to Thurston County, a planning position, and he's gonna make a lot more money than what he is making here. I actually thought he was gonna leave us in about a year to be a teacher. He actually was going to school to be a teacher, but he said he couldn't pass up this opportunity. He's the one that just had the additional family member, and money does matter. They're a young family and they've got three kids, and it's that we just can't. keep
Doesn't
them.
he live in that direction too?
He lives north of Lewis County, so
He
it's-
was
it's
driving
quicker.
down through Lewis
Yeah.
County to get
It's
here.
quicker for
so-
him to go to Thurston than he is to
Yeah.
go to Callis.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Yeah.
It's a loss. He is a great employee to have, and he is really good with the public, so. The only other thing I have is that tomorrow on the consent agenda, we have the call for hearing, extending the interim official controls for the surface mine. It's been a year since the board heard the latest version of the surface mine. The draft ordinance is over with our prosecutor's office, so we're working with Doug and David. I think Doug's the one that's gonna be handling this, to look at the draft, and then we'll move it through planning commission and run a SEPA. But right now we're just gonna extend the date for a year and hope all the interim controls stay in place.
So the name interim will still be there?
Interim will be there for the year or until we get the ordinance complete through the board. Yep. That's all I have.
Okay,
Great.
Thank you.
thank you.
The ordinance is just the same as the one before, right?
That's correct.
Okay,
It's just,
thank
yep,
you.
it's just staying in place until we get the updated version, which we hope includes all the current stuff we have in
Yeah.
it. Yep.
Another question, there is no sense of urgency on that, is there? In the sense that we don't want it to expire, but
And that's the only reason why I'm bringing it forward is because I do not want the interim controls to expire. The neighbors have been part of our BPAC committee, and they've been vocal about keeping the interim controls in place. And like I said, I was kicking that can down the road because it wasn't efficient issuance to us, but I don't want the interim controls to dissipate. So that's why we're bringing it forward. Nothing more.
Well, of course, the public hearing is the opportunity for staff to say, here's how we have been working on it.
That's correct.
Because we have to show progress.
And we
here,
will we'll bring the work studies forward. Yes.
So it can't just be interim forever.
That,
So,
and this is my hope is.
It
it's
sounds
the-
like you're just about ready to bring us a proposal, so.
We would like to before the end of the year, but we've gave ourselves a year in case we, I know the prosecutor is backlogged.
Sounds good.
Good morning again. So for me, I have one thing on the consent agenda. WestRock with their new box plant is adding an entrance off of Fibre Way. That entrance, due to the tracks as well as a few other things, requires a right turn lane with an extended queuing in case the train's there to get them off and allow the rest of WestRock trucks to pass by them without going into the other lane. So they are dedicating a right of way to the county. The right of way is located on top of Three Rivers wastewater treatment plant property. So tomorrow's consent agenda is Cowles County Board accepting the document that Three Rivers has already signed and said they're willing to give a right of way on top of.
So are they shifting the road northward to create that lane on the south side? The box plant's on the south side of the road.
Box plant's on the south.
So they're shifting the road north.
The road stays where it's at. So where all the trucks basically park right now, all that gravel right there,
Mhm.
that's gonna turn into a turn lane pretty much. So the turn lane will exist between the existing road and the current railroad fence. And that'll be just about the right amount of room. It's about 20 feet wide by, I think, 500 feet long, but it's 11,000 square feet total.
So Three Rivers, the wastewater authority is given the easement to WestRock.
They're giving the right of way to us. WestRock has to be the original requester to.
Oh, okay. WestRock makes the request and
Yep.
then they're giving the right of way to us, but it's really on behalf of
Yes.
WestRock.
Yes.
Okay.
And then WestRock will do all the construction of the turn lane, and once that's complete to our standards, we will accept owner and responsibility for that to maintain in the long run.
So they'll construct it and then we'll maintain it.
Yes, which is why it needs to be a public right of way.
Okay.
All I have.
Questions on it? No, sounds fine to me.
How much time do you think? 10. Is there 3 of them? Okay. Do you want all 4? You know the names of it, contract? Collective bargaining? Okay. So we have 3 executive sessions, all 3 collective bargaining. And I want to say, if you want to break down between, do you want total time or in between for each individual? How do you usually do that?
Well, each type, right?
Okay.
Well, it's all the same type, so then we can just take. It's all, didn't you just say it's all contract
Yeah, so I'm
negotiations?
thinking 5 minutes, 10 minutes and 15 minutes.
So about 30 minutes
30 minutes
for,
total. Yeah, but
for
one should be pretty
contract
short. and I think the other two-
negotiations.
And do you include that other item we were going to talk about
I was going to talk to you just one-on-one afterwards.
after, there were 2 items between that
I was going to talk gun range afterwards with you,
right, no, I'm speaking about,
or security.
yeah,
Yeah, that's going to be one of the executive sessions. Yes.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I didn't realize she could speak obscure, but I
Yeah.
guess she can.
So we got 30 minutes for contract negotiations,
Collective bargaining.
collective
Oh,
bargaining,
right.
sorry. I knew it was a C word. Okay. Okay, we'll do that.
The board is extending the executive session for a period of 5 minutes until 12:05.
The board is extending the executive session an additional 5 minutes until 12:10 PM.
Okay, we're back after executive session, talking about collective bargaining. No decisions were made. We have nothing else going today. No miscellaneous, and so we will adjourn this 11 o'clock meeting. Thank you.